Hello, all you unsung athletes. Welcome to the Unsung Athlete Podcast, where we give a voice to you, the unsung athlete, training every day, grinding without excuse, reward or not. I'm your host, Shannon Rose. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the Unsung Athlete Podcast, where we give a voice to you, the unsung athlete. I'm your host, Shannon Rose. Let's get started. So today I want to address a topic that weighs heavy on my unsung athlete heart. It's the overwhelming mental load of being an athlete and devoting time and consistent effort to your craft while still bearing the incredible blessings and responsibilities we have as mothers, parents, caretakers, healers, wise women, knowledge owners. Being an athlete seemed simpler earlier in my life. It was never easy, yet I actually think it was mentally more difficult because I didn't know my craft, right? I didn't understand how to balance life and learning all of these new skills. And when you're stretching yourself like that mentally and physically, and you're learning how to be self sufficient early on in your life, all of that compounds to be absolutely overwhelming. You're breaking through barriers you never had dealt with before. You are learning skills and boundaries and capacities for strength and for handling stress and for regulating emotions that you just never had before. And so when I was younger, right, before kids, before this part of my life, it was simpler. It wasn't easier, but it definitely was simpler. And now, when I think about my life now as a mother and as somebody who is working to better the world, to bring more love into this world, building businesses, buying businesses, looking at building a legacy and also shouldering the mental and emotional load of our entire family, I think about how much more complex it is to be an athlete and still have all of those responsibilities. And when I think about devoting time to my craft and to being an unsung athlete, I have to tell you, I don't always feel like that badass athlete. I just did Muay Thai testing yesterday, and I have to say it was probably one of the worst Muay Thai tests that I'd ever taken. Even though I've been honing my craft for 9 years, even though I work to build my strength, to improve cardiovascular capability and strength, and I go to my skills training classes, and I do that between 5 and 6 times a week. And yet, yesterday, I felt like it could have been my first day. My skills, my energy level, I was absolutely depleted. And a lot of my injuries were inflamed, partially because I'm not resting well, I'm not sleeping well. I have been trying to eat, but actually, I'm not getting enough calories or protein these days due to that stress and tight timelines. And my kids are now at a phase where they're in middle school and high school, and they need me at a completely different emotional and social and spiritual level than they ever have before. They don't need me as much physically, but they need me to be present and available. And they need me not during regular business hours, let's say. They need me at 9, 10 at night when those thoughts and feelings are coming to them. And so I will never say no to those times with them. And I will always choose that time to be present for them because I know that those small moments build to bigger moments and relationships with my kids. But it does eke into my ability to be a badass unsung athlete. I show up for myself and I step onto the mats and I pick up those kettlebells. But as I'm doing that, everything in my body is screaming. The voices in my body are saying, just stop. Just be like the 99% of the rest of the world. You don't have to go every day. You don't have to go 6 times a week. You know enough. Your brown Muay Thai armband, that's high standards. Isn't that enough for you? And yet, every time that voice starts talking, I remind myself that not showing up as an athlete is it's not an option. It is not an option to not show up because being an athlete is who I am in my DNA, in my spirit, in my blood. So even if I'm showing up and representing as an athlete in a, quarter of the way, or maybe I'm showing up and I think I'm doing really poorly, but man, others are looking at me going, she's exhausted. She's building businesses. I know she was up late with her kids. She was up early for business. She's having meetings before and after practice. She's staying up late to become financially free. She's educating her mind every single day. She's finding time to be a wife and find time for love and passion in her life. She's finding time for new things in her life. Man, when I list it out, it really gets very overwhelming. It actually kind of, makes me feel a little teary eyed and, that clenching feeling in my throat and in my heart because it is so much. It's such a responsibility to have the weight of your family on your shoulders and know that it isn't just about you anymore. Not like when I was younger. I can't just escape to the gym whenever I want, even though I do make it a priority. I, for the past few weeks, the only time I've been able to get to the gym has been at 5:45 in the morning. And some people are like, well, what's the big deal? So you just get up a little earlier. Yeah, but let me take you through this day. I get up at 5. I get ready. I stretch because I'm in my mid 40s and my hips are not limber and feeling great when I first get out of bed. I've got plantar fasciitis in my left foot. I've got a locked hip on my left hip. I've got my trap is completely locked usually in the morning on my right side. There are multiple things, but I don't complain about it and I do not use it as an excuse not to show up. But I know they have to be dealt with. So let's get up at 5 in the morning and let's deal with that. Then let's get in and let's get our work done, our athletic work done. After that, I race home. I get in the sauna for a quick sauna, I shower, I get the kids ready, right? They're old enough to get themselves physically ready, but like I said, they have this emotional and social need because the world is also crashing in on them right now. The world is demanding more from our children from an emotional standpoint and regulatory standpoint. They're dealing with levels of emotional regulation right now and from other people that we've never had to deal with in our humanity. And there's levels of suffering that are just so much more complex. Now, there's also a level of softness in this generation, and a level of resilience that hasn't been there. But when you think about it, there's also some of our children who just shine brighter and have some of that potential to be resilient. And so they're out there trying to show how this world should look and how we want it to look. And in going against the grain, that is absolutely exhausting for kids when they're still growing, when they're, again, barreling through barriers that they've never gone through, when they're honing their own athletic craft at the same time. And so I think about, okay, now I've got my kids, I'm present for my kids, I get them off to school. Immediately, I'm logging in and working on other people's businesses to help people be better leaders in this world, to help their teams be better so that they can take all of that learning and betterment back into their lives and spread more love into our world. In the middle of that, I'm then also trying to get in my Muay Thai skills. I'm trying to get walks in so I can be in nature. I'm building 2, sometimes 3 businesses at a time. I'm looking at and validating other businesses to invest in. I'm learning about things that I hate, like finances, decentralized finance, and all of those things that I absolutely like, building wealth that make no sense to me, but I know I need to do and I know I need to learn about. And I devote time and energy into building that capacity in my brain because I know that I'm responsible for it. No one else is going to do that for me. No one's going to come in and save us financially. So I know that's my responsibility. And then I have to think about, how do I want to be living not only today, but in the future? And are the actions that I'm doing through the day, is my mindset and how I'm talking to people and interacting with people, is that constantly feeding that higher vibrational path that I want to address? And how am I then planning for whatever those next steps are in my journey? So all of that's happening through the day. Then my kids come home, and then it's all about them, as it should be. They're going and honing their crafts, soccer, volleyball, MMA, and they need to be present, they need to be fed, they need to be rested for that. And that, though that isn't completely my responsibility, it is my responsibility to make sure that they can do that and that they have a safe space to do that and that they know how and that they know how to do that for themselves. So after that, then I get a small amount of time where we get to debrief for the day while they're getting ready for bed, while we're talking about life, where they get to let their minds unwind and ask questions. And that is like the most precious time because I hope they always do that. So here we are at the end of the day, and they finally are able to calm down, drift away to sleep, or at least they're quiet in their rooms. And it's 10 o'clock at night. And I have an hour to look my husband in the eyes, tell him I love him, to talk about our own lives and our day. And then I'm in bed and asleep by 11:30 at night. So you can just imagine, like, every hour of my day is taken. All of my energy, physically and emotionally and spiritually, is spoken for. And I'm not getting enough rest and recovery. But yet, I know that it is not an option to not show up. I know this is a phase because there will again be a time where my kids won't need me in that way and where I will have more time to devote to my craft in a different way. But the point of me going through that scenario, it's not to like talk about me, but it's to give this example and this freedom that you will have these ebbs and flows as an athlete, and that your body and your energy level and your performance may not always reflect that badass MF that you are and that you know you have the potential to be, but your life will always reflect the things that are most important. And when I look at my life as an entirety, my body is not doing exactly what I want it to right now. It is a little slower, it's a little pudgier, and it is, not as quick, but man, it is so strong. When I look at the rest of my life, my kids are happy and they're content and they're healthy and they're challenged and they're becoming people of integrity and who are going to change the world for the better. I look at my future with my husband and it is sound and solid. And I look at our financial future, and though I can't see everything, I know that I'm doing all the activities that will lead to us being taken care of and be free. And I think to myself, okay, like I'm doing all the things that I can do. I'm not following social media's goals. I'm not following society's pressures on all the other things that I have to do, but I am choosing to devote time and energy to the things that are important to me, even when I'm exhausted and tired, even when I don't want to, and even when I think I'm not good enough or can't. And to me, that's what keeps me going as an unsung athlete, is the fact that I just don't stop. Every day and month is not always about progress, but it is 100% about showing up and not stopping. And so, for all you unsung athletes who are just overwhelmed and feeling that burden of that emotional and social and spiritual pressure, whether it's something you put on yourself or you're feeling it from the outside in, just remind yourself that as long as you're focusing on your values and you don't stop, you're going to be okay. And yes, not everybody is going to have the best performance or the best physique all the time. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're not an athlete. It doesn't mean that you're not a good parent. It doesn't mean that you're not showing up for yourself. It just means that you're putting energy to where it needs to go at that point in your life. Just even if you have to back off from things a little bit, it's okay. Just don't stop. Consistently show up for yourself moving forward. And as true to November form, there is so much to be grateful for this year. So much. I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for our world in the state that it is. I'm grateful for all of the things that I have in my life and the incredible amount of love and support that I feel. I'm very grateful for my mindset and my heart. I'm grateful for my spirit. And I know that if we can all keep focusing on what we are grateful for and pushing our values forward and showing up for ourselves a little bit at a time, our world will be and continue to be a great place for us all. So thank you for being here, and thank you all for showing me the true heart of an unsung athlete. Thank you for joining us on the Unsung Athlete Podcast, where we give a voice to you, the unsung athlete. I'm your host, Shannon Rose. Keep grinding without excuse.